Hey, what's up everybody? I'm JayDreamerZ and today is an exciting video. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a little while now, and I'm wearing my special goggles just for this occasion. But anyhow, we're talking about the Steampunk Survivors and the Junkyard World, or Junkyard Planet, however you'd like to say it. I'm pretty much going to give my entire presentation, then I'm going to jump into the chat so I can say hello to all the members and see what your thoughts are on all this crazy stuff. So I'm sorry for those of you who are watching live. I had to push it back a little bit because there's a big storm here in Colorado, but it's past. It's still raining right now, and I'm just making a couple last second adjustments. There we go. All right, I've got some pictures up here. So over here we've got some pictures. Oh, by the way, if you can see this thing, that's camera 2. So I've moved everything around here. Let me show you camera 2 real quick. Boom, camera 2. There it is. So it's right here next to me. That way I don't have to get up and move around. You guys can hear me just fine. I'm such a rookie. Anyways, so I'm really excited to talk about this. I'm really excited to jump into the chat too, as well. All right, so let's start things off. I know every YouTube video, man, all of them always have the first 2 minutes of people talking about anything but the subject, right? I'm sorry. All right, let's jump into it. Let's see. What should we talk about first? Let's talk about steampunk. What's steampunk, right? I had not even heard of steampunk my entire life, okay? Like I recently heard about steampunk. Maybe, I don't know, a few years back, I don't know, maybe like 5 years back. Of course, I'm not as hip as all the rest of the kids in the world. But steampunk is what is it? Is this just like a concept? Is this like a fad, you know? You've seen it, you know, you've seen the people wearing like their top hats. Usually people are wearing these trendy goggles. It's very post-apocalyptic looking, mixed in with a little bit of like technology, you know. Sometimes it sort of has like a Victorian look to it. Like a sort of Victorian mixed with technology. There's a lot of movies, there's a lot of TV shows that are starting to incorporate the whole steampunk theme into their shows and into their movies. Man, I'm so excited to see everybody here. All right, so anyhow, that's steampunk, okay? It's sort of a genre, and it's sort of a niche, you know? And it's becoming very popular. My family and I actually recently, we went to the Renaissance Festival, or the Ren Fest, as we call it, right? And at the Renaissance Festival, there's a lot of people starting to dress up in steampunk, right? Like steampunk Batman or steampunk, you know, Victorian look or whatnot. And it's funny because I always wonder, like, do the Renaissance people have a problem with like the steampunk people, you know? Like, is there this unspoken rivalry between the two, you know? But anyhow, steampunk has its origins, I believe, in our hidden history. I look goofy with this thing on, right? These were actually donated by one of our viewers, one of my viewers. This is probably it's probably one of the first things that was ever donated. These were supposed to be to my trip to the North Pole, which is in the works. But let's get back into steampunk, okay? Basically, it has its origins in our hidden history of the world. Specifically, as many of you who watch my channel know, I've been talking a lot about how the plasma apocalypse is so pertinent and crucial and central to our timeline, to our story. Which is funny because I was watching the movie Brave. I had never seen that. Pixar's Brave, right? I watched that last night for the first time with Jenny. And I was talking with her about the Pixar theory, which I'll probably do a video about, okay? And I was telling her, like, Pixar got it right, man. Like, the Pixar theory is real. But it's not just the Pixar theory. It's the everything theory. Every movie, you could apply the Pixar theory to. Every movie studio, every production, they all have their own timeline because it's just our story. They're retelling. That's the only thing that can be told. That's the only story. I say this a lot. Our story from beginning to end is the only story that has ever been told. And the interesting things like sci-fi and fantasy and steampunk and all these genres, that we're so entertained by, those are the hidden history that we don't remember. Those are the parts of our history and our past or present or future that we don't recall for some strange reason, right? Which I'll talk about. But let's check out some of these pictures, because the steampunk is in a lot of movies. You can't always pick it out. And some movies, some TV shows, some pop culture references, they don't tell you, well, this is a steampunk movie, you know? And by the way, the one movie I saw that really kicked me in the butt and made me want to do this video finally is Alita Battle Angel. I think that's what it's called. Actually, I'm going to have some pictures of that in here as well. But I was watching Alita Battle Angel. Let's start with that. Let me see if I could find it. Actually, there's probably gonna be a lot of pictures. Hey, there she is right there. Cool. All right, so this is a picture from the movie Alita Battle Angel, right? Basically, right off the bat, you can see she's sort of a cyborg, right? In the movie, she has a human brain, and I think maybe some sort of a partially human heart or something, right? But that's a part of the steampunk world as well. Now, in the movie, it starts off, this is so crazy, right? Right when I'm watching this movie, my mind is immediately blown. I'm watching this movie, and there's this city in the sky, and they dump all their trash down onto our world, onto the ground, right? And so it's basically creates this sort of giant junkyard that just piles up everywhere. And then the denizens of the lower world, us basically, we go and we sift through, you know, all of basically the elite or the rich people's garbage that they've dumped onto our world, and we're like, wow, look at this. Well, that's where Alita's maker finds her, right? He scans her, he sees that she still has her brain is working, so she's alive, you know. But he picks her up out of the junkyard, and for me, this is crucial because since I started studying the plasma apocalypse, and I'll go to camera 2, I'll give you guys a really quick and very brief rundown of this as well. Oh, by the way, hey, if you like the music for my intro, I made that for my website, for the Steampunk Survivors section in the plasma apocalypse part of my website, which is I'm kind of proud of that. All right, so let me give you guys a quick rundown. Let's go to camera 2 real quick. Before we go any further, because I realize a lot of people don't watch all of my videos, so you might not be caught up on the plasma apocalypse, but there's one part I want to show you real quick because it's very relevant to what we're going to be talking about. All right, so let's go over to camera 2. All right, here's camera 2. Let me go ahead and get rid of the old... I have to be careful with it because it's just... Basically, this is just a whiteboard sitting right next to me. It's not secured or anything. All right, so here's going to be a very basic drawing, okay? And, you know, take it with a grain of salt, whatever your worldviews or cosmology or whatever are. So I'm going to draw our world here. All right. We got the ground. Oh, that's lovely. The marker isn't working. Well, let's see if the blue marker works. That's insane. All right. Let's see if the blue one works. Cool. The blue one works. All right. So let's see. We've got our sort of snow globe sort of world here, right? Well, this whole world in here is pressurized. This is where we live down here on the ground level, all right? Everything in here is pressurized. We know we have pressure systems. Our world is pressurized, right? One of these days, the sky is going to break open at the top, which will relieve all of the pressure. Also, what we refer to commonly... Hold on. What we commonly refer to as a society in general, but not me specifically, okay, is gravity, okay, or electromagnetism, or whatever you guys want to call it. Anyhow, that's going to be gone while the sky opens up for a little while, not for a long time, okay, but afterwards gravity is going to be weakened, okay, gravity, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, back to camera 2. Made a big deal about that on purpose. Anyway, so the world is pressurized. When the sky opens up, the world will be depressurized, and we'll go from our 5G technology to 0G or zero gravity, right? And everything's going to be basically start to get sucked up into what is commonly referred to as space, okay? Whatever's outside of our world. It's going to start getting sucked up. Well, that's not going to last forever, and the electromagnetism around our world, okay? There's this, basically there's an electromagnetic force field that will go back up around our world. When that goes back up, everything's gravity, whatever you want to call it, will be restored. And all this stuff that started to get sucked up that didn't make it, it's going to fall back down. Okay? Everything's going to fall back down into our world. So basically, instead of going up, it's all going to be going down. Right? All the trash, all the cars, all the things that didn't quite make it out of our world is going to come crashing right back down. That is relevant because that is exactly what gives us this whole post-apocalyptic landfill world, garbage dump world, junkyard planet, whatever you would like to call it, okay? But that's what happens. Basically, the end of the world in various terms, okay? You could call it Armageddon, you could call it the cyclical reset, you could call it whatever you want, basically. This is the beginning point and the end point of every civilization and every culture simultaneously. Now, here's what happens. First and foremost, a lot of people are going to forget, okay, your brain, many people's brains, not everybody, many people's brains will actually be rebooted, okay? And there's going to be a lot of amnesia. People won't remember who they are or what they're doing there or whatever. But as time goes on, the survivors will wake up and they're going to go around sifting through the garbage of the prior world. One, in order to find out, who they are. In order to find out where they are, right? Who am I? Where am I? Oh, I should probably jump in the chat and ask, hey, everything okay? I got a new microphone. Thanks to so many of you. I really appreciate you. Hopefully it sounds good. It took me forever to figure out where to put it so that it sounds the best. But please do let me know if the audio, the video, everything's good. Some thumbs up or positive emojis would help me out a lot. I think I'm getting better at this. I must say, I think I'm getting a little bit better. Hey, Vanessa says it's perfect. Mother Dragon says everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're surviving the apocalypse. Okay, stop. Anyway, all right, let's go through some of these pictures, all right? I'm just going to comment on a lot of these, all right? I say all right a lot. I know, I'm working on it. Anyway. Gas masks. Okay, gas masks are going to be seen a lot in the post-apocalyptic movies, in all the steampunk genres, various sorts of masks and gas masks and stuff like that. Well, that's because as a part of this hole in the sky opening up, it's going to create a worldwide storm, which is going to blow a lot of stuff up into the air, not just dust and dirt and things of that nature, but all of our poison and all of our crap that we have left behind. It's going to take a little while before it settles down. So that's why the movies and television and pop culture, that's why they show you stuff like these gas masks being worn in all of these post-apocalyptic movies or steampunk or whatever it's all the same. It's basically all the same, okay? So the steampunk era, if I were to draw a timeline, right? You know what? I could draw a timeline. Let's go right back to camera 2. Why not? Let's just draw ourselves a little timeline here. All right, I'm going to show you the timeline of our esoteric and hidden history, all right? Now, the beginning and the end, it's not really a timeline. It's more like a time loop, but because we're used to lines and linear, I'll just draw a line there, okay? So this and this. Plasma apocalypse. Right? Here and here. Okay, I'm not an artist, sorry. Anyway, that's the beginning and the end, okay? So some things on our timeline, especially, and this also applies to like every movie ever made, you could put them all on this timeline, all right? Let's go back to it. All right, so you've got the like amnesia, you got right when it happens and then people wake up, they've got sort of amnesia, they start looking through all of the junk, they start rebuilding their civilizations. That's about where we are, approximately, in the timeline. Now over here would be like, oh, and there's also, in this area is like the Phantazoids. Okay, probably, maybe even this area right here. Phantazoids are an entirely different subject, so I'm the only one that talks about Phantazoids. I would say Google it, but you can't, because then it's just going to be my YouTube channel and my website pop up. But basically, they're the great beasts of old and the monsters, okay? And then other stuff happens along that timeline. You know, eventually things start to settle down. And then when you get towards the end of the timeline, right? When you get, okay, this part is what I call like the boring part, all right? Not that it's boring, it's just that there's not a lot of stuff happening that I'm really interested in. It's a lot of like relationships between mankind and stuff and fighting and wars and stuff. And then at the end back here, this is when you get more into like your sci-fi era. Okay? That's the sci-fi era. That's the time of the gods, okay? When the gods are at their peak. That is us, okay? So to speak, without being blasphemous or, you know what I mean? Just calm down. But anyhow, that's the sci-fi era. And immediately after the sci-fi era is when the world starts over, basically, right? And it can happen in different ways. It can be hurried up. It can be slowed down. It depends on how much time passes from one reset to the next reset. All right, so this guy's got the gas mask. That's why he has the gas mask on. Now, you're going to notice a lot of the junkyards in pop culture, in the movies and stuff. Why would you even have a junkyard in your movie? Like, okay, maybe occasionally, I guess, you know, but it's a junkyard. It's not like the most attractive, appealing thing. It's also not very mysterious, or it's just trash. And it's not just a junkyard. It's just trash references, all right? There's going to be a lot of these. Now, I do want to point something out in this particular picture. I think this is from something called Monster Trucks. I've never seen it, but, you know, I know what it's about. A lot of these movies, I already know what they're about. I could get like 2 seconds of I could look at the thumbnail. I'm like, okay, I know where it is on the timeline. Poe, I know exactly what it's about. You know what I mean? Oh, excuse me. Anyhow, you're going to see this nasty looking monster thing in this picture right here. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. See that thing? That is a Phantazoid. I don't know if they know it, right? I don't know if the movie people know it, but that's a Phantazoid. Phantazoids, aka monsters or the great beasts of old or cryptids, you know, those aren't all exactly the same, but good enough, right? The Phantazoids are usually actually associated with the junkyards or with landfills or with garbage heaps or trash compactors or, you know what I mean? All these references, garbage trucks, all that stuff. There's sometimes, I'll say, monsters that like live inside of them for some odd reason. Well, if you go back to the timeline, you can see exactly why. Let's go back here. So this right here, this is the time. Right here is where the Phantazoids fall into our world, okay? They come into our world or they come up from the ground or both, right? And they live with us for a short period of time, right? They don't stay around forever. And those that do survive and procreate, their offspring get like smaller and smaller in order to fit this world, especially later on once gravity is restored to its full capacity. But anyhow, that's why. Okay, the Phantazoids, they fall in, the monsters or whatever you want to call them, they fall into this world right along with the trash, right along with all of the broken junk and the cars and the houses, or, you know what I mean? Like in The Wizard of Oz, like the house comes crashing down and kills the wicked witch or whatever. All this stuff is falling down. Let's check out some more pictures here. This is from Transformers. Okay, you got the mechanical T-Rex with the red eye, right? The red eye always represents the plasma apocalypse. It's specifically the one eye or the all-seeing eye, right? That's going to be the black hole sun, or that giant red eye that opens up in the sky, the evil eye that opens up in the sky and lets in the plasma and sucks everything up and then spits everything back down. That's almost always what that's associated with every time. But this is from Transformers. Transformers are a play on, well, this one right here is a play on I don't know, I would say maybe the kaiju or creature class of Phantazoids. But the other Transformers are basically a play on the gods or the giants, you know, the bipedal silica beings that come into our world. They're the bipedal Phantazoids. But this is a junkyard scene, right, in Transformers. And he's eating one of the cars. That's also another thing that they like. They'll show you these monsters that come down from the sky or whatever. They want to eat sometimes, okay? Not all the time, so don't quote me. But they typically are shown like wanting to eat metal or specifically, consume electricity. They go after things that have electricity, some like mechanical objects and stuff. So you've got this guy who represents the great beasts of old, aka dinosaurs. Okay, I like the concept of dinosaurs. I think that we're just a little bit off when it comes to dinosaurs. I believe that they were the Phantazoids. And I'm not sure if they looked exactly like that, but anyhow, so he's eating that car. Another thing you'll see, you don't really see the junkyard in this picture, but just trust me, he's in a junkyard right now. In the junkyard, they usually have these big claw machines, right? Of course, because you need stuff to pick up big, heavy metallic objects. The claw machines are usually shown in these junkyard scenes because the claws represent the plasma fingers or the plasma tentacles. Oh, whoa, I'm glitching out. Oh no, I'm a reptilian. Anyways, the claw represents the plasma tentacles that come down, right? So they usually will show you and allow these machines to sort of make an appearance there. Here's another one. This is from Superman. Another thing that's associated with the Junkyard World is superheroes, okay? For some reason, superheroes are usually associated with these Junkyard Worlds. Superman has this huge identity crisis. I think this is Superman 3, I want to say. But the Supermen, aka the fallen angels or the gods or the vampires or, whatever you guys want to call them, okay? They go by many, many, many names. And I do talk about many of those names on my website. Feel free to check it out, JayDreamerZ.com. I'm so excited about my website. I'll talk to you guys about that at the end. Anyhow, Superman, that's what he represents. He represents these beings that came down from another world, etc. Well, they can only do that during the plasma apocalypse. And they come down immediately into a trash world, into a landfill, into a garbage world, or a junkyard planet, And that's why you have Superman in this junkyard scene, Of all the places they could have had Superman do this, there's so many barren areas on Earth, right? Why would they put Superman into a junkyard? They could have put him anywhere, right? This is why. It's because of the worldwide decompression and then that the pressure being restored. This is another one from, what is it? Star Wars. Oh, God forbid I say Star Trek, right? Star Wars. They're in the trash compactor. This is a classic scene, right? Well, they fall in and it's sort of soupy and stuff and it's all gross. There's trash everywhere. And this is an odd scene. What a weird scene. It didn't have to be a giant trash compactor. They could have made this anything. And on top of it, someone may have, I need a pink emoji. Okay, I can put a pink emoji in there. Anyways, they put a monster. They put a Phantazoid in this particular scene. I don't have a picture of it, but this is weird, pink-looking Phantazoid, this sort of fleshy Phantazoid thing that's in there with them. Like I said, they usually are associated with monsters as well. This is the Mad Max world. Okay, this is the leftovers. The leftovers from the prior age. The leftovers from our age, basically, right? We're pretty close. Leftovers from the time of the gods, right? Where people start scrapping through, what do you call those people? Oh, scavengers. It's a scavenger world, okay? I hope you like scavenger hunts. Because if you want to survive, and you do, you're probably going to be on a scavenger hunt. But that's what Mad Max and all this stuff is about. These post-apocalyptic movies where they're just finding things, wearing their goggles. The steampunk portion of it comes in because we lost. All of our technology, all of that stuff gets sucked up into the sky. Many people forget. The brain is rebooted. They don't remember technology. I guarantee you I'm not going to, even if I survive, right, and I keep every single one of my memories, I'm not going to be able to make a smartphone. No, every form of technology will be coveted, it will be revered, it will be honored and respected, it will be looked at as magic from the ancient gods, right? And people will go on hunts for relics around our world. They'll be looking for those relics. And that's kind of what Mad Max is. Whenever you see these vehicles, these are the ones that fell back to Earth, okay? Or were somehow didn't get sucked up into the sky. Maybe they were underground or maybe they were tied down, whatever, So that's the whole Mad Max thing. See this guy right here? Another thing you're going to notice is these pale, white-skinned, albino-looking people in these movies. Mad Max has a couple of them. We already talked about Alita. That's a great movie. I might do a Truth in Movies breakdown on Alita, because there's a lot going on, especially with this white baby blue flame sword deal she has. Genesis in the Bible. Anyway, I might have to break that down. Oh, the movie 9. This is steampunk. These are the steampunk survivors. This is waking up in a post-apocalyptic garbage world where everything's destroyed and everything's fallen down. I just put some of this stuff as just an example, a lot of times steampunk, is kind of portrayed and iconic when people wear like the top hat. And this guy even has a real big collar. Well, I've talked about the top hat and the collar before. The top hat, the wizard's hat, the conical hat, whatever you want to call it, the Phrygian cap, right? That's all because those beings that come down here have much bigger heads. And so they wear hats to match, right? That's why the elite wear hats that are way too big for their heads. It's not because, it's just some nonsensical status symbol, right? My hat's way big, therefore I'm rich and powerful. No, I don't think so. The hat's big because they're gods, they're leaders, etc. They had big heads. So that's why this is typically portrayed, because this is the time, during the plasma apocalypse, when those beings come down into our world. Now, there's rules associated with that. They're not supposed to interfere. They're not supposed to make themselves known. They're supposed to watch and, just kind of keep their eyes on things and help out when they can, maybe answer questions or, you know what I mean? But they're not supposed to go changing societies and introducing futuristic technologies and stuff like that. You got the top hat and then the collar, of course, because I believe these beings are photophobic, which means that they're very sensitive to sunlight. And so they have these huge collars to flip up so they keep the sun off their back. This is from Doctor Who, okay? Who, for all intents and purposes, is one of those beings, all right? And, this happens to be a Christmas episode. There's always a Christmas Day catastrophe in the Doctor Who series. Why? Because it happens on Christmas Day. Well, there's actually 2 plasma apocalypses. Is that how you say that? Apocalypses? Anyway, there's 2 of them. There's one in the summer solstice, I believe, and there's one in the winter solstice. I've mostly been studying the winter solstice ones, so please don't ask me too much about the summer solstice one, because I need to research that one a bit further. Thankfully, we've already passed the summer solstice, so that's good news for many of us, right? Anyway, Christmas Day catastrophe, and over here on the right, you can see the landfill. Doctor Who fights his nemesis, this guy with the blonde hair. And typically, it's blonde or red hair, right, that represent these beings. This is the landfill. He fights in a landfill, just like Superman did. This is from the movie 9. This is like one of the bad guys, okay? This is one of the survivors. What he does, he's a little puppet, he's a little homunculi. What he does is he goes around, he's picking up all this debris. This is just trash from a leftover world, from a leftover age that he's wearing. Oh, Rue. Hey, Rue, I happened to glance at the chat. Please ask me that question. Once I'm done with this presentation, I'll be happy to answer that. She's asking about, like, how do our memories get reset? But as you can see, he's just piecing together this debris, right? This cargo, it's a cargo cult mentality, okay? There's a great video on YouTube about the cargo cults. I highly recommend searching for it. Check it out. But he's picking up all the cargo, all the debris, all the stuff that was left over from the prior age, and he is making it like a religious symbolism. You know what I mean? It becomes more than what it really is, which has been passed on to us in our world today. That's where we get all of our religious icons and our symbolisms and all that stuff. Let's see. This guy's got the big collar, right, in order to protect him from the sun. Also, he's wearing gloves, and he's pretty much completely covered head to toe to keep him safe. This one was pretty cool. Some of these are just random pictures I picked off the internet. As you can see, you got the top hat, the goggles in order to keep all that debris out of your face. A lot of people, okay, it's kind of, when they talk about and when they display the whole steampunk era, this whole steampunk subject, right? They tend to make it very sexual, okay? That's because it's going to be, hey, I got a donation. Cloven E funded CA $5, says pre-plasma charge to get immunity to plasma to survive the event and become superhuman. Ooh. I'm going to come back to that at the end, but thank you very much for your donation. I'm going to reread that when I jump in the chat. So anyhow, what happens is the weather is going to be really nice after the plasma apocalypse. Our world is going to go back into more of a garden place, a garden paradise, if you will. And the weather's going to be really great. There's not going to be much of a need to wear, big long sleeve clothes or anything like that. People are going to pretty much be half naked. So that's why it's portrayed like that. Not in order to like sexualize it. Of course, some people are going to be drawn to that because of the era that we live in now. Okay, but in the time to come, that's not going to be seen as sexual. It's going to be seen as normal, right? And necessary, because if you put on all these extra stuff, you're going to be super hot. Not only that, but there's also this to consider. There's not going to be a lot of extra clothing just lying around because it all got sucked up into, the beyond or whatnot. I put a few shots of Superman in here because I like this particular scene. But that's the junkyard scene once again. He's pissed off. You know what's really interesting? The guy that played the original Superman on like the television show, Yvonne. Hey, thanks, Yvonne. Yvonne Gale pledged $10 on Patreon. That's awesome. Hey, I'm totally jumping in the chat. I'm going to say thank you to everybody and read all your stuff. The original Superman on the black and white TV show, his last name was Reeves. Or Reeve. Either way, right? Well, this guy's last name is Reeves as well. There's a Superman type person named Keanu, or Neo, right? Keanu Reeves. Interestingly enough, they're not related, right? But I believe they pick all those names specifically for a reason. You're going to see a lot of these like leftover robots and stuff. Excuse me. Now, the robots in general are not really made, but they're left over, okay? This is technology that fell back down or stayed here, and our world is inundated with plasma, aka electricity. And like I've talked about on my zombie apocalypse video, where I talk about like Toy Story being a true story and the zombie apocalypse being something that you can look forward to, as well as Pet Sematary and all that stuff. These machines are going to come alive. They're going to have lives of their own. They're not going to need batteries or power sources because there's going to be power everywhere, okay? Which we can talk about at the end of the video as well if you have any questions about it. But yeah, these machines are all going to pretty much come alive. Any of the robots that we've made, any of our machines, any of our cars, like the movie, like what is it, Pixar, right? Like the Pixar movie that we all think is just amusement, right? No, it's not. It's full of esoteric truths. I thought this was really interesting. This is from the movie The Mask, right? The Mask, when Jim Carrey puts on this mask, he basically becomes one of the gods, okay? And he goes to a park called Landfill Park. Interesting, right? The Iron Giant. Wow, also very much a huge junkyard scene. There's all these junkyard scenes, right? The Iron Giant comes in and he wants to eat, all of the mechanical things and the electronic things in the junkyard. And he represents as well the giants or the titans who will be in our world. Thor. Like I said, the superheroes are typically associated with the junkyard, or there's always these junkyard scenes. You saw the Superman one. This is Thor Ragnarok. Ragnarok means end of the world. Well, I don't know if it means that, but that's what it is. It's the Norse apocalypse, basically, and it's really cool. I highly recommend reading about it. But anyhow, he's on this garbage dump junkyard planet where there's these holes in the sky that open up and trash falls down into this world. Like, this really just blows my... Look at all this just debris everywhere. He's not fazed by it at all. He's, it's kind of normal to him. Looks around, there's just junk everywhere. And of course, there are these scavengers everywhere that go around sort of collecting the garbage like little hermit crabs. Speaking of hermit crabs, there's actually a bunch of giant hermit crabs in which are basically Phantazoids, I think, okay, in the movie The Labyrinth, or Labyrinth. So you can see all the debris falling down if you look closely there. I think I could zoom in on that. Yeah, see like all these dots? That's all the trash just falling down into the world. That really blew my mind when I saw that one. All right, let's check out some more pictures here. So that's pretty much the same one. That's just what the world looked like, you know. Time machine. I've talked about time machine and what all these time machines are. They're basically Faraday cages, okay, that protect these individuals from the electricity around them so they don't get fried, so that they don't die, so that they keep their memories, which is very important. Rue, I'm going to talk to you about that towards the end here. But yeah, time machine. You step into your Faraday cage, plasma apocalypse comes, it goes, you step out into this brand new era, this brand new world, a whole new world, right? That's what it's going to be, okay? It's going to be a whole new world. The land itself is going to look a lot different in many, many places. The maps will have to change, etc., and so on and so forth. But anyhow, that's why he steps out and he's like in this old garb. And that's also one of the reasons why you know, the bipedal Phantazoids, aka the elven race, which is how I refer to them, the elves, they're typically shown dressed very Victorian. You know what I mean? Like sort of an older style Victorian era, because when they come down into this world, they're not going to be wearing the latest Nike products and Reebok and Gucci and whatever. I don't know all the names, you know, because I don't care. No. Our style is going to go back to the old ways. You know what I mean? That's very gothic. And gothic just means godlike, like the gods. All right. And that's what Time Machine's about. He steps out of his Faraday cage and the whole world has changed around him. And in essence, in his timeline, in his experience, he has just time traveled either so far into the future that everything looks, you know, prehistoric, or so far into the past that it is prehistoric. Either way, that's exactly what's happening. And this movie also has one of those pasty white vampire elven looking characters as well. And Phantazoids. Sucker Punch. This is one of the coolest movies ever, man. I don't fully understand it, I'm going to be honest, but it's I have to rewatch. I haven't seen it in a long time. But I love these kind of artistic visual kind of movies that are just out there. This one's very much a steampunk style of movie. And what that is they're just collecting the old technology. You know what I mean? They're collecting the old technology, but they don't have the means to replicate a lot of it. Those who do have the means to replicate the older technology will be seen as wizards. They'll be seen as sorcerers and, you know, sorcerers' apprentices, right? This is from the movie 9, which I already went through, right? But I did want to point this particular character out with the one red eye there and the really long fingers. Long fingers are just a symbol for the plasma tentacles, all right? Let's see. All right, let's keep going. I have no idea what movie this is from. I totally forgot. I may not have seen it, but hey, it's very relevant, right? You got blimps oftentimes in the steampunk world because people don't know how to replicate airplanes, right? They don't understand a lot of that stuff. So they make more simple flying machines and stuff like blimps. This is a great picture. I don't know what this is from, but I found this one on the internet as well. Not only does it have the junkyard and the red sky, which is a part of the plasma apocalypse or the part of the new world or the new age or whatever you guys want to call it, the next life. I don't know what you want to call it. But it also has this interesting spider looking thing inside of it, right? Spiders, spider symbolism, long fingers, the claws that come down to pick up the trash. All of this is symbolism that goes right along with the garbage dump world or the junkyard world, because that's the plasma coming down into our world, which won't be around forever. It'll be around for a little bit, but not forever. Once the electromagnetic force field is reinstituted, those plasma fingers will start to go away. They'll dissipate into the air, and the plasma that's inside of our world, that gets trapped inside of our world, will take various forms, which is really interesting. We're going to talk about that. I don't know. We'll talk about that another time. This is Van Helsing. Van Helsing. It's pretty much a steampunk thing. He's a vampire hunter, right? So steampunk and vampires go hand in hand. Why is that? Because the vampires are the elven race. They are those very ivory-skinned bipedal phantazoids that are out there from quote-unquote space, which is white, which I did a whole video about, okay? I'm pretty sure space is not black. I'm pretty sure space is the exact opposite. It's very colorful, opalescent, pearlescent, kind of a shiny, shimmery white color. But that's a whole different story. But check out my other video on Space is White if you want to. But anyhow, that's why he's hunting vampires. He's hunting the gods. He's hunting the bad fallen angels that came down and, you know, like they're trying to take over the world or whatever. They are the strangers. They are the ones that don't belong here. They're the new ones. And maybe even hunting the Phantazoids as well. Interestingly enough, there's also the whole werewolf phenomenon in this movie and many other movies, which I could probably do an entire video on, but I believe that's absolutely realistic, okay? Not as a disease. I believe there is a disease. It's called the T virus, which happens if you're bit by an infected Phantazoid, which you don't want to do. So do not pet the mythical creatures, okay? Leave them alone until you get better acquainted. But yeah, werewolves. I have this inkling. I don't have a lot to go off of. It's mostly, I know a lot of the stuff that I talk about sounds like, you know, it's very out there, right? Takes a pretty big imagination and a pretty big creative mind and to even grasp a lot of what I'm talking about. But people changing into animals is probably at the top of the list. And I'm probably going to do a video on that one of these days. I think that some people will actually start changing into animals. And I think that's where the whole werewolf thing comes from. So anyway. Not for this video, though. Here's Wally. What's Wally doing? Well, he's digging through the leftovers. This is all the trash in the post-apocalyptic world. Look, the city is right there behind him, okay? They don't put garbage dumps. Well, I've never seen them put a garbage dump like that close to, you know, a major metropolitan area. Maybe they do. I don't know. You know, don't quote me. But the reason why there's this huge landfill in Wally all over the world is because of that. This robot, who's totally alive because of the plasma, comes in, kicks on all of the electronics in our world. He's going through all the stuff to see what he can salvage. He is a salvager, right? This is also, I believe, this is a Tusken Raider from Star Wars, right? And I think this is sort of representing the steampunk survivors / post-apocalyptic world. You know, it doesn't really show us what they look like underneath these masks, but they show all the telltale signs, right? They're wearing the long Jedi kind of robes that the gods wore or the elves wore. The El, the Elohim, the elven race, the Al, the Allah, the Elf, the elves, etc., right? They wore those long cloaks with big hoods in order to protect themselves from the light because they're not used to that. They don't have a sun. They don't have a sun how we have a sun out there beyond, you know, the roof of our world. It's a lot different. So being that close to a big old light source like that is a shock to them. I'm not sure what movie this is from, but this is a classic example. See, people will start adorning themselves with the remnants and the debris and the cargo that's been left over, the flotsam and jetsam of the prior age. They'll almost wear them like badges of honor. You know, people will find trinkets. A lot of times they won't even know what they are. They'll just think they look nice, and they'll start sort of decorating themselves and their houses and whatever they can find. You know, this lady put like some bone of some deer or something on her shoulder. Sometimes you can tell that it's relevant, like maybe this is attached to her gas mask, I don't know, or maybe it's just for decoration, or sometimes it just gets repurposed. Sometimes they use these things for another purpose. Let's zoom in on this one. I don't know what this is from exactly, but this is the entrance to some sort of junkyard. I found this image on Google, and I thought it was really interesting. So here's the junkyard. Then they have this sort of giant spider mechanical thing, which for me is a Phantazoid. That's what that represents. Very symbolic. Like I said, there's always the great monsters of old, typically, I shouldn't say always, typically associated with these junkyards, these landfills, etc. There's some kind of monster usually in there. And it also has red eyes. And it also has these blinding whitish yellow eyes. This is our sun now. This is the red sky then, afterwards, right? But yeah, it also represents, the spider, grandmother spider in the Native American myths and legends. I love the movie Brave. Like I said, I had watched that. And in Brave, the mom was constantly telling the daughter, because the daughter's like, those are just myths or whatever. Or I don't know, maybe her husband said that. And she's like, there's a lot of truth in these myths. These myths are basically true, okay? Which is exactly what I talk about. The myths, the legends, they are all true. The history and the facts turned into legend. The legends, which legend just means writings, right? That's how they passed them on. There were oral traditions and there were writings. The legends turned into myth, okay, which is legends that we lost the actual writing portion of it. So it became oral tradition. It became stories, which became cartoons, okay, and comic books and all of that stuff. It's all very much real. It just falls to us to sort of reverse engineer it all in order to figure out who we are, where we came from, and more importantly, or maybe equally important, where we're going, right? All right, so here's another one, Wild Wild West with Will Smith. Will Smith, if you didn't know already, only is in esoteric movies, okay? He's one of the people, for some reason, I don't know why, I can't say, but he's in a lot of these esoteric movies that have some deep meanings. Typically, these esoteric and important movies are some of the cheesiest ones. Some of the best movies that have like the best messages and the strongest truths don't make it real big in the box office. They're not really promoted like all the other movies, Those are the ones I'm most interested in. I love those ones. But like I said, they find alternative forms, alternative ways to fly and things like that. Because we kind of have to start over. Here's another one. I don't know what movie this is, but there's like these Mexican gangbangers, and for some reason they're meeting up in this junkyard. And a lot of times in the junkyard in the movies, you'll see like all these cars are just piled up. It's not just because it's a junkyard. It's because these things are all going to start piling up on top of each other, okay? Which is, by the way, another really good reason why, you want to look out, okay? When that happens, if you're one of the survivors, you want to make sure you're kind of double checking, because you don't want to get squished by a house like the Wicked Witch of the West, right? Here's another one. I think this is Star Wars. This looks like Rey from Star Wars. I don't know if it is or not, but it's basically the same thing. When you start over, you start from scratch. You have very basic mechanical structures, very basic electronic features. The movie 9, that's the whole thing we talked about. Now check this out. See? He's got this sort of staff that has the light bulb on the end of it. I don't remember if there's a battery in there or not, but he probably wouldn't even need a battery. And then, of course, there are these towers shooting up into the sky as well. Oh, there's a little bad guy right there. I didn't see him. The towers are very much related. Oh, hey, that guy's like, that's like me right now, right? What a lovely day! I don't remember what he says. But check out his skin, right? He's more than Caucasian, isn't he? Right. Very much so, because that's who he represents. All right, let's get out of that one because it's making me dizzy. There's some of these books. A lot of these books are starting to get more into like the steampunk survivor mentality, right? Well, I messed up my hat and everything. All right, hold on. There we go. I got a new haircut. I won't share with you guys today because it might shock you. It's sort of along the lines of a cool Viking look. But I got a haircut for a very loved one out there who means the world to me. Anyway, Elmo in Grouchland, okay? I don't know if I've seen this one. My son has some movies he loves Elmo. But you would think that this doesn't mean anything, right? Elmo and Grouchland, whatever, some kid's movie. Yeah, Oscar the Grouch lives in a trash can, whatever. Elmo is the same plasma red color, okay? You have to look beyond in order to see the symbolism. And he's in Grouchland, a.k.a. the good, the bad, and the stinky, which is what it says right here. You can't really see it. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger here. The good, the bad, and the stinky, okay? That's the landfill world. Oscar the Grouch's world or land. They put this stuff in kids' movies. They put it everywhere. I don't know if it's done purposefully. I'm not one of those people that are like, they're laughing at us. They're insulting us. They know the truth and they're rubbing it in our faces. I don't know. Maybe they don't, man. Maybe people are just tapping into the truth by using their creative abilities in the same way that I do. I'm not some Illuminati Freemasonic member that's privy to secrets that I had to go through years of training and initiations and whatnot. No, man, you tap in, you open yourself up, you let go, you unlearn the system. Okay, to quote somebody. Anyway, you unlearn the system, right? Shout out to Unlearn the System. You have to unlearn your ways. You unlearn your old ways. You forget about everything that you ever knew and you start over. You start fresh and you continue to be balanced, balancing out reason and knowledge that you learn, all things you learn, and your feelings, your emotions, your creative side, left brain, right? You want to be balanced. Deadpool has a huge junkyard scene. It's like all over the internet. Deadpool has a junkyard scene. Deadpool is the crimson red color of the plasma, right? And I have not seen that one. I've seen the first Deadpool. Oh, this is one of my favorite movies ever, okay? So I'm a big fan of 90s and 80s movies. This is my brother's favorite movie. Some of you met my brother whenever I was doing the Real Supernatural Brothers episodes 1 and 2. My brother was a ghost hunter, believe it or not. So I had him on for a bit. Anyhow, this is from a movie, super good movie called The Heavenly Kid. Now, this guy right here, spoiler alert for a 30-year-old movie, okay? He's dead. He's like a ghost or, an angel or whatever you want to call him. Well, angel is just those otherworldly entities. And as he says right here, I am not of this earth. He was beforehand. But anyhow, my point is there's this whole junkyard scene, okay, where he goes and he uses his magical powers or his superpowers, which people will get, in order to give this kid a cool car. Cool movie. You should check it out. This is from the newest Toy Story installment. This is basically, I believe, I haven't seen it, but if I understand correctly, this is like a huge sort of like trash inferno or something, some sort of garbage inferno or trash compactor type deal. And all the Toy Story characters, right? Remember, that's a true story. All these stories are true stories, all right? Especially those Pixar ones. Man, I could tell you exactly what it's about if I just know where it is on the timeline. But yeah, these stories come to life. These toys come to life, okay? All these movies were toys and puppets, like Puppet Master, right? Chucky, all these ones. They come to life because the plasma comes in and it wants to be corporal. It wants to find a body. It is ectoplasm. Literally, that's not a word that Ghostbusters made up. Okay, it's a real word. Ecto means outside of. Plasm is plasma. It's plasma that's outside of something, right? When it's inside of something, it's corporal. It's inside of a body. It gives it life. It acts as the energy source. It acts as the spirit, okay? All these things will be coming to life in a future coming soon. Garbage Pail Kids. Some of you guys might not remember Garbage Pail Kids. I remember when I was a kid growing up, man. There was two types of people. There were the types that collected Garbage Pail Kids, and then there were the types that thought they were just satanic and you're just an evil person because you even said the name, right? Which sometimes, honestly, I got a little freaked out about. I was like, man, I don't know. Is that true? I don't know. But it came with gum. So, I had to get it. Anyway, Garbage Pail Kids. These kids represent Phantazoids. They represent aliens or monsters or whatever you want to call. And they come from the garbage world, the garbage can, Oscar the Grouch's trash can, the garbage truck, the landfill. It's all the same thing. Life comes up out of that stuff. Let's see. Like I said, people are going to invent new ways of flight. A lot of times in the steampunk era, they will give reverence, not just steampunk, pretty much any point in time. They'll give reference to the whole one-eye symbolism, right? And that's why this girl's wearing this sort of patch over her eye. Let me make that bigger for you. Whoa, I did not. Hey, that was not done on purpose. Or purposefully, all right? Oh, come on, Jay. Come on. Look at her eyes, Jay. Come on. There we go. All right. I'm talking to you out there. No, I'm just kidding. So anyways, she has a patch over her eye. Gosh. She has a patch over one eye. That's the one eye in the sky. That's the one eye, the black hole sun. That's the vortex that opens up in our sky. That's all of that. And that's why they give reverence. That's why all these characters, almost always, there's always going to be one that's missing an eye, okay? There's not that many one-eyed people in the world. I don't even know if I've ever seen one in real life, okay? Maybe I have, possibly, but there's not that many, okay? It's not very popular thing to go around missing one of your eyeballs, okay? And I'm not making fun of anybody that does have that, okay? Because, I'm sorry, and I wish you had both your eyes, but gosh, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. My point is, the reason why there's always the one-eyed character in the movies is to give homage to this event, to the eye in the sky opening up, or the wheel in the sky that keeps on turning, etc., right? Journey. There's always a character that has one eye. There's always a really pasty white-skinned character. There's always a blonde character and a redhead character. Okay, remember that one. All right, let's check out some other stuff here. Van Helsing, once again, like I said, werewolf, right? Let's zoom in on that. Boom. Yeah, it's not as bad when there's like a fully dressed guy, right? It's like, okay. We got the werewolves and the Batman. Oh, Frankenstein too. I totally forgot about Frankenstein. But he's pieced together by all these leftover parts and dead bodies. He's basically a zombie, okay? Zombies are real. Okay, that's not me wishing it to be so. That is an established fact from thousands of years of record keeping in various forms, all right? We've just forgotten about it. We've made it all... I've seen, when I'm out driving, okay, running my errands and whatnot, sometimes I'll see some of you guys that have like zombie apocalypse response team sticker on your car, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold that person accountable, man, when the time comes. You better be responding. You better be helping out when the zombies actually do come, instead of freaking out and screaming like the kid on Stranger Things. Because I think a lot of these people do it sort of because it's trendy, not knowing that it's very real. Very real. The Book of Eli. This is also one of those post-apocalyptic sort of steampunkish style movies. He's got the goggles and everything. He's blind. Now, I read the entire script for this movie because I was trying to find what ended the world in this movie, and they don't really make reference to it, which only piqued my curiosity. Okay, so the only thing I could find is this guy, Eli, played by Denzel. He basically talks about like, he meets another blind chick, right? Oh, that's another thing you're going to see in the movies. A lot of times there's a blind character or a deaf character, okay? The deaf character represents the decompression, okay? So some people will go deaf when the decompression happens, okay? It will rupture many people's eardrums. You'll bleed from the nose. Some people will bleed from the ears. That's why that's why in Stranger Things, the girl always gets a nosebleed or whatever. That's what that represents. The nosebleed is a precursor to getting superhuman powers or psychic abilities, which is what happens when the plasma fills our world. Hey, Jenny's in the chat. Hi, Jenny. I don't know if she's home right now. Anyway, so yeah, there's Denzel, and I forgot what I was saying about that. But anyways, here's another one. A lot of this sort of thrown together technology, thrown together mechanical things, potions. A lot of this stuff's going to go back to the old ways. The old ways are returning. Okay, I don't know if you know that, but we live in a cyclical timeline. Remember the timeline that I drew? Let me go back to camera 2. Camera 2. Man, I wish my green... Let me see if I have another green marker, because the green is way better. Can't believe this one dried out. There we go. There we go. It's a shilling to tie the boat to the dock. All right, let's see here. What was I doing? I was going to draw something. What was I going to draw? Let me go back to live scene. I forgot. Okay, I'm sorry. This is live, okay? I don't have a script. I don't write it all down, and sometimes I forget things because I have a lot of stuff racing around in my head. But I'll go back to camera 2 in a minute when I remember. Somebody in the chat could probably remind me. Hey, Mother Dragon says the majority of Tim Burton's movies are steampunkish. I totally agree. Tim Burton is on point, and a lot of times he'll hire Johnny Depp, who also is interesting, an interesting character, an interesting fellow, so to speak. But yeah, our technology is going to revert. The old ways are going to come back. See, I knew if I started talking about what I was talking about, I'd remember what I was going to draw. All right, let's go back to camera 2 before I lose it again. All right, so instead of drawing a timeline like this, right, with the beginning, that's the plasma event. That's the hole in the sky. And here's the plasma event again, right? See, isn't the green 10 billion times better? Instead of drawing it like that, we actually want to draw it like a circle. So check this out. All right, boom. That's the beginning, okay? This is the plasma event. And then we go this way, and we've got Phantazoids, monsters coming into our world. Technology's lost. People start waking up, not knowing where they are or what's happening. Society starts to rebuild itself, right? People are starting to build little tribes. It's basically the movie Brave. It's people are living in forests and things like that. Then people start coming together and they start making little towns and not quite cities and stuff like that, but you know, they start getting together. By about this point, I would say many of the Phantazoids have been killed off. But really, when you get into like this area right here, the Phantazoids pretty much are gone, okay? And what happens, I'll come back to that. What happens is that people don't like the Phantazoids, okay? Not all of them are good. I talk about that a lot, including the bipedal visitors, whatever you want to call them. So the survivors pretty much go on a hunt, okay? They put on all this huge, heavy armor, typically metallic armor, because the Phantazoids may actually carry an electric charge because they're from quote-unquote space, right? Which I believe is an electric universe. It's anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, they kill off many of the Phantazoids, right? That's like the time of the knights and the samurais, and they were wearing all that weird like protective armor and stuff that's way too heavy to be fighting an actual human being, right? If you really thought about it. And then people start getting together. They start rebuilding their cities. They start coming together and conglomerating and whatnot. And then you have technology starts to become very advanced. And then you have artificial intelligence and futuristic technology. And then you have, boom, the plasma apocalypse happens again. Which actually a better symbol for this instead of a circle is that right there, the spiral. Because that's what the spiral represents. Let me jump back to the live scene here. See, that green is way better. I'm going to throw this green in the trash. Since we're talking about trash anyway. All right, so, that's a good question, Rue. Save all your questions for just a little bit longer. We're almost done with this little presentation. This is a picture I found from the cartoon. I forgot the name of this cartoon because I don't really watch it, but everybody recommends it to me, basically. I probably should watch it. But see, Rick and Morty, that's what it's called. I actually have a Rick and Morty alert down here, too. I don't even know what it is, but they're like in this sort of time machine DeLorean type thing, flying through like this rainbow stuff all around them. I can't remember what alert it is, but I think it's if someone subscribes or something, it shows that. You'll see. Oh, shoot, what happened? He says maybe it went somewhere, and then he says, Automated Rick says, garbage dump, stand back. So there's this whole garbage dump scene. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This is the whole steampunk era, right? This is people that have superpowers. They are extraordinary. And that's a part of the whole steampunk thing as well. Excuse me. Like I said, superheroes are typically associated with the Junkyard Worlds. This is from Alita. This is where he finds her. You can't see the rest of her body, but it's like a part of her chest, and you see that she's a cyborg, etc. And she wakes up in the junkyard and doesn't know who she is and doesn't know where she came from, right? That's the theme. That's the theme you're always going to see because that's our story. She has amnesia. This is just a great picture. There's a lot of symbolism going on. Some people pointed out some stuff like the pizza, right? Pizza represents the pizza planet. I'll let you guys think about that one because there's certain words I can't say, otherwise I get in trouble. All right, anyhow, there's The skunk is black and white symbolism, which is basically space, okay? Because space is pretty much black and white. We live in the black. We live in the dark room or the black room, the room of death, okay? In the black room with white curtains. That's where we live. Okay, we live in the black room with white curtains. But this is a junkyard world, and they have these huge arms coming down. This is just the plasma fingers coming down out of the sky. All right, I talked about that one before. Excuse me. These are some of the scavengers. There's going to be a lot of scavengers, all right? Or rogues, okay? They'll go by different names. People are going to give them different attributes and stuff like that. But basically, they're all going to look very kind of similar, very post-apocalyptic, finding new clothing, having to stitch together their own brand new stuff, you know? I don't know how many of you have ever worn the same piece of clothing for like a few years, but believe me, it doesn't last forever, okay? It starts to get very thin. It starts to wear out. You're going to have to find some new stuff to wear in the next age. This one's interesting. Evil doesn't have a prayer. Let me zoom in on that. Evil doesn't have a prayer. Archangel from the Winter's End Chronicles. The end of winter. Well, for those of you who have studied the end of the world or eschatology, you know that there is Fimbulvinter, or the Great Winter, that is a precursor to the end of the world, at least in Norse mythology, right? And then after that, there will be no more winter, okay? Like I said, it's going to be a very summertime, beach kind of weather. It's going to be very nice, which is why Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden only needed to wear a leaf. Okay, they didn't need sweaters, they didn't need jackets. It was very nice conditions, right? Anyway, Archangel. Those are the angels from the Ark, right? The Ark. Okay, the roof of the world, the ceiling, the rim of the world, right? That's another movie. It's on Netflix. If you're interested in all this stuff I'm talking about, go watch the movie Rim of the World, because it's just full of everything I'm talking about. I have actually not seen this. I probably should, because I love this actor. There was this TV show he used to be in called Briscoe County Jr. It was one of my favorite shows. It was super cheesy, man, and I loved it. And I'm sure whatever this is, I think this is Evil Dead. Or Ash versus the Evil Dead, something like that. I don't even have to watch the movie. Like, I already know what it's about. I already know, but I am going to watch it because it looks pretty cool, and Jenny recommended it. Here's another get-up. You know, a lot of these people are going to look very similar. This is sort of a steampunk kind of a costume or whatever. And as you can see, he looks a lot like the Tusken Raider that I showed you guys before from Star Wars, right? People are going to need gas masks and stuff. I'm actually looking for some right now, but I'm trying to find gas masks that don't have metal, because metal's a bad idea when your world is full of electricity, full of an electric charge. That's the last thing I want on my face, is to have those dream crabs attached to my brain. Yeah, so I'm looking for more like those painter ones, like the ones that the graffiti artists use that have little things on each side. That's kind of the gas mask that I'm looking for. By the way, which is the reason why in the movie, what was that movie? Take Shelter. Okay, you know the one, right? When the guy who did it with Eminem's mom in 8 Mile. I don't remember his name. Okay, and anyways, that guy is in the movie Take Shelter, and he's not very loud. He's very quiet and soft spoken. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's like, "There is a storm coming," right? And he just goes off on this huge rant and monologue, which I love. Some people may have seen it as well. Project Frequency, hey, what's up, buddy? He donated $1.99 and said, "We live inside the cell Earth. It's a battery." Cool. Well, I did see your video, like I said, and I'm definitely giving a lot of that some thought. But now's not the time and place to talk about it, because I'm on a roll talking about something else. But anyway, we will talk about that. I promise I'll come back to you. And thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. But anyway, that's the whole reason for that, right? That's the whole gas mask and everything. That's why they're going to be wearing those types of get-ups. This is an interesting picture. Now, you can't see it in the picture, but this is from the movie Artificial Intelligence, where there is a junkyard scene, where all of the robots are alive, and they're all looking for extra parts and stuff, and they're all trying to change out their parts. But then they all freak out when they see the moon. When the moon comes, they know that there's danger, right? They know that they have to take off. And there's a whole discourse to the moon. probably have to do an entire video about the moon. This one's from the remake of Mad Max, I believe, but this is the same type of thing. You'll notice the sky is typically this orange, rusty red kind of a color, right? That's because the sky changes colors after and during the plasma apocalypse. It changes from a blue sky, like we have right now, to a red sky. Let me just take a time out, because I responded to Project Frequency, and I didn't want it to come across as rude, because like, you guys don't know that him and I have actually talked. He did a video for me to watch. So let me take a step back, and genuinely, I appreciate your donation. Thank you very much. And I've been really busy lately, especially with my website, but I promise I've actually watched your video like 3 times, and I'm going to go over it some more. I don't want to get into that zone where I'm debating with people anymore. You know what I mean? Everybody's got different worldviews. Everybody's got different perspectives. I'm not trying to argue about any of it, and I'm not saying you are either. I know you're really excited to try to get my attention so that I can share your information with everybody else, but lots of other people are doing that too. So I didn't want to sound like, I was ungrateful or anything. So if I did, I apologize sincerely, but I will look into it. I promise you. All right, moving forward. I can't believe I just said that. Anyways, this is Blade Runner 2049. This whole area is a junkyard. This whole area is basically a giant landfill. And that's a huge part of Blade Runner, as well as I don't know if you could see in the background here. Let me make it a little bigger. All right, here's the junkyard right here. And here's all these little scavengers and stuff. There's always a scavenger. There's always the hermit crabs, right? And then in this one, you can't really see it, but there's fog in the way, and fire. Of course, there's going to be a lot of fire in the post-apocalyptic world to begin with, but then it's going to go away. But fog is also absolutely associated, because when the world depressurizes, the air itself expands and turns into fog or mist, like the movie The Mist, right? With all those phantazoids inside of it. Also, the moment I see fog in a movie, especially if there are any other elements like a red sky or red lights or anything, I'm looking for a phantazoid. I'm looking for those cryptids, those monsters, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, there's the fog in the background too. And that's Blade Runner 2049, right? When technology gets super far advanced on that cyclical wheel, right? This is one you may not have expected, okay? Let me see if anybody in the chat can get this movie. I want to see if somebody in the chat can tell me what movie this is from. Because if you do, you definitely get a little shout out. All right. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick time out. If you need to use the bathroom or something, go ahead. I'm going to put on the be right back screen. I'm going to give us 2 minutes, and then I'll come right back. That way, I know some of my videos are kind of long. I want to give you guys a chance to stretch your legs and everything. So we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and I'm going to come back and see who gets this movie right here. That'll be interesting. All right, we'll be back in 2. Boom. dokie, I'm back. Okay, so let's see who got it. Let's see here. Who got the movie? I want to see. I got to scroll up a little bit. It looks like Great Hope. I want to say it was Great Hope. Great Hope got the movie right. Hey, let's blow up the chat with some positive emojis for Great Hope, who said the brave little toaster. Yay! Positive emojis. You get, I don't know how many stars I put up there, but you get 4 stars. Can you guys hear me okay? Everything good? Oh, Mother Dragon. I don't know. Somebody, who got it? Was it Mother Dragon or Great Hope? All right, well, I'm giving some to Mother Dragon too, because she definitely deserves it. Mother Dragon. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to Mother Dragon as well, because she's actually been helping me the most in order to improve the website, sort of iron out the wrinkles, so to speak. And she's been a huge help. So thank you, Mother Dragon. Big shout out to her. So let's give Mother Dragon and Great Hope some positive emojis. So yes, that was the brave little toaster. They've got the junkyard scene and everything. All right, we're going to finish up these pictures basically, and then I'm just going to jump in the chat and hang out with everybody and talk about stuff. Wild Wild West. I already mentioned that one. That's very steampunkish. He's got this sort of, I don't know if that you could consider that a top hat, but they've got this sort of thrown together, pieced together technology. And the main character in Mother Dragon, I'll get to that next one in a minute. The main character in, did I say in Mother Dragon? The main character in, what is this movie called? Wild Wild West. I wanted to say Westworld. Same thing. It's all the same. It's all the same story. It's all the never-ending story, basically. The main character builds this giant mechanical spider, okay? The spider, especially large spiders, those are always symbolic of the plasma hands that come down into our world. Or grandmother spider, or mother spider, or, various forms of the spider creator type being, okay? Spider gods, spider superheroes, etc., right? Okay, now, you might not know who this is, all right? But this guy's name is Casey Jones. And what he's doing right now is he's grabbing the lever to a garbage truck where Shredder is inside of. You guys, some people don't even know what I'm talking about. Okay, this is from like the 80s. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles represent, I don't know, I'm just kind of guessing, but they're probably Phantazoids or otherworldly type beings, or just mutants, people who have mutated or gained certain powers or whatever. Like I said, some people might actually turn into animals. But he's going to kill Shredder, the bad guy, with the garbage truck, which represents the garbage world. I don't know what movie this is from, but this headset actually reminds me of Back to the Future, when Marty McFly goes back in time to visit Doc, and Doc's got that big crazy contraption on his head. He's like, don't say anything. And he like pulls him in, and he's like, let me guess. And he's trying to guess who he is and stuff. He's trying to read his mind. Well, guess what? There are mind-reading machines on the way. Let me look directly into the camera as I say this. There are actually they're already here. Okay, so I shouldn't say that. But they're going to be sold to you, like Facebook, like all this other stuff. They're trying to put implants into your brain. What was it called? Rue knows what it was called. Neuralink, right? Yes, I remember. And I'll probably do a video about Neuralink. Thank you to Rue. She's one of the members in the chat. One of the Good Vibe Tribe. That's the one that's stuck. You guys are the Good Vibe Tribe. Anyhow, they have this thing. Elon Musk, or Elon, right? He means Elon, or Elon means of the gods. That's what that means. And he's creating this technology, this microchip, to put it into your brain exactly like in the Matrix, okay? And they're going to hook your brain up to applications and all this thing. Project Frequency just donated $2.99. Thanks again, man. I appreciate you. I hope you felt like I was genuine earlier. I'm so sorry. I'm really hyper right now. I'm just going to be honest, because like I had a 5-hour energy earlier because I was super tired. He says, do you think that AI and plasma is for data harvest? Yes. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to read all the questions and all of the super chats here in just a minute, and I'm going to respond at least to all those questions. I don't have all the answers, obviously. I don't know if I want all the answers, but I will respond to all these. But anyhow, this is like Neuralink. They're going to hook up your brain And that tells you where we are on the timeline, right? Camera 2. Thank you, camera 2. So this tells us where we are on the timeline. This is the plasma event, right up here. This is the beginning. This is where everything's very tribal. People are living in the forest and stuff, etc. We go all the way around. And this up here is artificial intelligence, and your brain is hooked up to computers and stuff like that, all right? And that tells you, I mean, what's next? What's after that? The plasma apocalypse. It's right around the corner. The trumpets of God are being blown. You can hear the T-Rex like coming from the sky, or Godzilla's roar, or whatever. People hear different things, and I talk about this on my website, but that's what that is. Those strange sky sounds, that's a warning. That's letting you know, and I talk about that on my website, what it is and stuff, and I've done videos about it. It's letting you know the sky's going to open up. And we're getting close. We're right about in that time. This is another one. We'll just skip that one. Oh, Freddy. You got to have Freddy in there, right? First of all, Freddy is full of plasma apocalypse symbolism. One, he's burnt to a crisp, okay? Lots of people are going to be burnt to a crisp. Don't be afraid, okay? That's not my whole point. Okay, it doesn't mean you're going to be burnt to a crisp, okay? So when I talk about the bad aspects, when I talk about the scary stuff, don't be scared, okay? Be informed, be ready, be excited, and if anything, change your vibes, you know? Practice having good vibes. Change who you are now, man. Now is the time to change so that you go into the next world. You bring what you would like to bring. The way that you want to see the world now is what you want to bring into the next world. So all of you who are surviving, you want all the good people to survive. Anyways, talk about that in a bit. Freddy, he's got the stripes, the red striped sweater, right? The stripes symbolize the plasma fingers, or those giant stripes that are coming. I can't talk. They're going to come down from the sky. That's the plasma. Let me grab my plasma ball. I have it. It's all decorated over here because I redid my little office area, but I've got my plasma ball, aka my crystal ball, right here. And I know some people out there going nuts, like, he's got a crystal ball too, right? Yeah, of course I do. Anyway, this is the crystal ball. This is the plasma ball. These are Freddy Krueger's fingers. These are the spider goddess. This is, whatever, the elongated finger symbolism, etc. That's what this is right here. That's why Freddy Krueger's stripes are red. You know, it's not always red. Sometimes they're different colors. But that's also why you'll see a lot of tiger symbolism. Okay, so the tiger also is used as a symbol for the plasma apocalypse. Some of you have seen the movie Mandy with what's his name? What's that guy's name? I forgot his name. Anyways, cheesy actor. I've totally forgot that guy's name. But he's in this movie called Mandy, right? And there's all this tiger symbolism. Katy Perry's Eye of the Tiger. All this tiger symbolism is because of the stripes, and that's it. You know, the stripes represent the plasma fingers that come down and make the sky full of stripes, basically. And then, of course, he's got these fingers that everyone's afraid of, you know, always being afraid of the fingers. And typically, they'll really pronounce fingers in movies and stuff, either like showing them coming at you, or, you know, of course, Freddy's got fingers that can kill you, which is the finger of God and all that type of stuff. And he's in a junkyard right now, believe it or not. This is actually a scene where there's a circle of cars, right? The scene is upside down. You need to watch this scene and flip the scene upside down. Hollywood is really good at this. Sometimes they'll make things sideways when they should be upright. Sometimes they'll make things upside down, right? So it just takes mind to be able to see these things. Sometimes you have to flip it around and play with it in your mind. But Freddy comes up out of this red hole in the ground, right? And he's surrounded by all this junk and debris in a circle, which is what's going to happen. There's going to be a world storm, and whenever gravity, or whatever you want to call it, all right, is gone for a short moment until it's restored and becomes less than what it is today, which is where a lot of our superpowers are going to come from. Everything gets sucked up into the sky in a giant, like, sort of a cyclone tornado fashion. Iron Giant, we talked about that one. this is a classic movie, okay? I love the forgotten classic movies, not even like cult classics, like movies that people have never even heard of, you know? This one's called, I believe it's called Trouble in Paradise. And it's a very interesting movie. Remember how I said some of the best movies are the ones that didn't really make it at the box office? You know, they become the forgotten legends, basically. Anyhow, it's got Demi Moore. It's got Dan Aykroyd, who plays a brilliant role. And it also has Humpty Hump. I don't see, some of you don't even know who that is, but no, it's not Humpty Dumpty, but Humpty Hump is this rapper, okay? He was kind of like MC Hammer before MC Hammer, all right? But they go to this sort of junkyard. They get stuck in this sort of junkyard area, right? And there's these two mutant looking guys, and they're in the junkyard, and it's basically a junkyard of death. It's a really interesting movie. Oh, this is the scene. This is the scene from Freddy Krueger, right? So there's the hole in the ground, or the one eye in the sky. Remember, it's upside down. See, I could flip this so that it is upside down for you guys, and then we'll make it bigger. So that's the eye in the sky right there. So look at the ground as if it were the sky, okay? The hole opens up in the sky, or in the movie, the ground, and it's surrounded by this circle of debris and cars, okay? And that's what that is. And then Freddy comes out of it, and he's just the bringer of death. He's Father Time, if you will. I have no idea what this is, but this is very similar. Also, there's something to the rain. I know there's a movie called The Rain, which I haven't watched yet, but there's something going on with the rain. It could be dangerous rain, okay? It's not supposed to rain a bunch, but maybe one more real big time during the storm. And if there is rain, okay, because I still need to look into this topic, stay away from it, okay? Stay out of the rain, because it very well could be acid rain, quite literally. And I only say that because holy water, according to my research, I believe holy water is not water at all. I think it's acid, all right? And it's up there. And it could be a byproduct of all the things that are happening chemistry-wise when the plasma apocalypse happens. Hey, Sunflower, I saw your comment. Let's see. Sunflower says, can you make a list of oldies but goodies? I can. I'm actually going to do that on my website. I'm going to have a whole list of JayDreamerZ recommended, like my favorite movies, and a recommended books list. I don't have that yet, but I'm going to put that on my website. Eminem, for some reason, is in a junkyard, right? And he's all covered up, you know. That's how the gods were. They were all covered up. They had their hoodies or their, you know, their cloaks and all that stuff. By the way, I want to bring back capes, okay? I hope some people will be with me on this, but I would love to really bring back the cape, you know, especially the ones with the big hoods and stuff like that, because I've always loved hoodies my entire life. I've always been drawn to them, and I didn't really know why. I just thought they looked kind of cool. But then the more I wore hoodies, the more I realized the hood part is too small. Like it feels constricting. It feels like it's something's off about that. The hood should be much bigger, you know? But I'm going to do that, man. I'm going to bring back the hooded cape. This is another one from Star Wars. They're actually looking at the Millennium Falcon, right? And, you know, there's some sort of comment made like, oh, it's a piece of junk or a piece of garbage. And she said, the garbage will do. It's a part of the garbage world. And this entire world in this scene is this sort of post-apocalyptic, desolate area, right? All right, let's keep going. Oh, this is the scene from Trouble in Paradise, that movie I was telling you about with those weird two mutant baby looking things. This is the whole scene right here. It's like a big, huge junkyard, right? They get stranded there with an 80s rapper. It's very interesting. And Dan Aykroyd has a really messed up nose. That's all I'm going to say about it. This is from the movie Artificial Intelligence. The robots come to life. Like I said, the plasma's everywhere. The robots come to life. They're actually in a junkyard in this movie. There's so many junkyard scenes in movies. It's strange to me, you know? I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's appropriate, and it's appropriate for a reason. There are all of these reasons. There's one reason. Not all these reasons. There's one reason why these things resonate with us. Why the steampunk survivors, why the junkyard worlds, why all of this stuff, why this thrown together mechanics and electronics and stuff, all this stuff resonates with us. All of it's popular. Why? Why does it stick with us? Because it's true. It's true. All of it's true. Everything is true. It might be skewed. It might be tied in the knots or whatever. It might be fractured and all the puzzle pieces are scattered out. But guess what? I believe we're in the time of the awakening when we're starting to put all those pieces together. So like I said, you know, the bad guy in Wild Wild West, he's got the, oh, here's from Stand By Me, the junkyard scene in Stand By Me. Chopper! You know, right? Anyway, there was basically, Chopper represents the monster in the junkyard. Chopper's a dog. I don't know if you guys know that, okay? This is an old movie, but a classic. And if you haven't seen Stand By Me, I highly recommend it. But this is the junkyard scene. This is from, you know, Deadpool, I guess. There's a junkyard scene there. Superman again. Blade Runner 2049. Stranger Things also has a junkyard scene. The kids go there quite a few times. And there are Phantazoids in this junkyard scene in Stranger Things. Stranger Things is all about the plasma apocalypse. It's a very cool movie. I haven't seen this movie yet because right now it costs like $20 to rent it. So I'm waiting for Redbox to have it. But everybody keeps recommending that I check out this one. Apparently it's very post-apocalyptic steampunk-ish, right? But I can't talk about it too much because I haven't seen it. There's that same cartoon. Here's Labyrinth. This is a junkyard scene from the movie Labyrinth. I thought I had a GIF. But anyway, here's what happens. Sarah falls down out of the sky, lands in a junkyard world. Okay? And there are all these hermit crab type monster beings or human, I don't know what they're supposed to be. They're basically giant hermit crabs in this junkyard world. Most people think there's only one, like the main evil witch looking one or whatever. She's like collecting all this stuff and putting it on her back. There's actually a bunch. I slowed down the movie. I've watched this movie like frame by frame. So I found a lot of those things in the background and they're just out there scavenging. They're scavengers. They're out there collecting stuff. Are we still good? Is the volume still good? Everything's good. Just want to make sure. Let me know in the chat, please. And thank you. All right, so yeah, Iron Giant. This is the typical getup right here, okay? You got the top hat, the flipped out collar. The popped collar is not from rappers, okay? The popped collar thing exists. That's from a time long forgotten. That's from the vampires or the elven race, okay? They're the ones that came up with the really big collars, or the Vulcans, right? Whatever you want to call them. They're all the same race. They're all the same species, basically. And then you've got like this sort of thrown together mechanics / weaponry, etc. Sort of a Victorian era look, etc. And we're back to the beginning. So I hope you guys enjoyed that presentation. This is the part where I'm just going to jump in the chat. I'm going to go over all the super chats. I want to reread everyone's questions and respond to those. So let me close this out. Boom, real quick. I'm just going to bring that up. If you have a question or you want to say something now, go ahead and type in @JayDreamerZ and I'll go ahead and read that so it highlights it here on my side. That way I don't have to read everybody's stuff. All right, so let me get over here to... Okay, first we had Cloven E, who made a donation and asked a question. Said, pre-plasma charge to get immunity to plasma. All right. To survive the event and become superhuman. Okay, so he's sort of asking, should I get a pre-plasma charge? You have a pre-plasma charge right now. You have a spirit. You have an energy. You have a frequency right now. You are electromagnetic right now. So if you want to get this sort of pre-plasmic charge that you're talking about, and you're interested in surviving the apocalypse, become a good person. That's first and foremost. There's a lot of other stuff that you can do, and I'll probably do a video. I've been meaning to. I might do that one next. You know, how to survive the plasma apocalypse. I don't know. That's a tough one because people are going to take my word as like a guarantee or whatever, and I can't guarantee that. You know, a lot of this is my intuition. A lot of this is my own path, places I know I'm inevitably going to wind up. But my best advice to you is change your vibration. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Change your ways. Smile more. Laugh often. Help people out. Be loving. Be selfless, right? It's we we live in a world where we're not conditioned to do those things. Like, some people will see that as a difficult task, but just keep at it, man. You can do it. You will do it. You've got time on your side. Believe me, all things come in good time. So yes, other things you can do is you can study electromagnetism. I highly recommend that. Study electronics and figure out how electricity works. Figure out how plasma works. Figure out what things, like magnets, repel plasma and keep it away. Learn about how to make a Faraday cage. Learn about safe places that you can go. Brush up on your ancient history and read about what our ancestors who survived the plasma apocalypse, what they did, what their living conditions were like, right? Like the cavemen, right? Who weren't so smart. Okay, well, the cavemen were smart enough to be people who lived in caves and survived the plasma apocalypse and didn't get sucked up into the sky, right? I want to say thank you to Cloven for your donation. Project Frequency also donated $1.99. And he says, we live inside the cell Earth. It's a battery. Very interesting. I will say that. So feel free to check out his channel. I think he's got like 1 or 2 videos on it right now. But a lot of this goes with like the theory of concavity and things of that nature. I go a little bit beyond that. Okay. So Project Frequency, please, if you haven't already, I know you watch my channel, so check out some of my other, like mechanics of our world type of stuff, because I don't think that our world is separate from the other worlds. I think they're all connected, just like the synapses in a brain are all connected, right? Well, anyways, I don't want to get too much into that, but I think we're actually really close. I think you and I are really close along those lines, but I'm sure that we'll chat some more too. And actually, didn't you join the website? If you join the website, you should have like my fan mail email address. You could just email me and we could just chat. But if you do, please try to keep it a little bit short, or use the chat on the website. My website, for those of you who don't know, actually has a chat. You can chat. If you're a member, you can chat directly with other members. Okay. Now, I'm just going to be honest and transparent. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of chatting using the chat feature because it will take up a lot of my time. Okay. But members of my website, they do have... Oh, hey, this says, heads up, we've detected copyrighted audio and video in your stream. Your stream may be temporarily blocked. Any ideas on what that could be? Because I have no idea. Well, let's hurry up before that happens. Hopefully that doesn't happen. What the heck could have been? I don't know. Do you think, Project Frequency also said, do you think that we are artificial intelligence and plasma is for the data harvest? Okay, so for more information on that, please go watch my video that I did called Space Brains and Plasma Tentacles. Okay, I talk all about the data harvest, which is basically what it is. It's all about the transfer of energy, just like in the brain, right? I think you've talked about that too. That's the data harvest. That's why the bad guys are always trying to get your brain or suck out your brain or whatever. They're not physically aliens and all that. They're not interested in sucking out your brain so they can eat it. Zombies don't want to eat your brain, etc. They want the information and the experience. Cloven E, hey again, thank you again for the donation. Says 5G is to track metahumans prior to apocalypse. 5G. Okay, so what he's talking about when he says 5G, he's talking about like the internet and the wireless internet that's going up everywhere. Right now we're on 4G, or the 4th generation of the internet. And when 5G comes, it's going to allow for like super speeds, and basically anything is possible at that point, especially when you hook up Neuralink to your brain and your brain is hooked up to 5G, which is hooked up to the world's information on the internet, right? So yes, absolutely. It's going to be used if it comes out, if we make it there. It will be used to track everybody. We're already being tracked right now. You know how like Batman in I think it was The Dark Knight, he sort of made this machine with Alfred, or no, he did it behind Alfred's back, but he did it in the R&D department, okay? But Bruce Wayne makes this machine that can bounce signals off of everybody's cell phones, aka 5G, and they could use the vibrations in order to draw a sort of physical map of the surrounding locations for as long as those waves extend out. They do that right now, Okay. It's going to be done on a massive scale and a larger scale, I believe. Not just keeping track of everybody, but it's all about information. This is natural. This is what separates humanity, I'll say, okay, from a robot, from being a machine, okay? A machine is interested in gathering more and more information. It's just more and more and more and more. You have to get all the information you can. You have to know everything about everyone and everywhere, all right? But the danger, okay, because I'm not against technology or anything. Hey, thank you, Vanessa. I'm totally going to read that in just a minute. But the danger there is to lose your humanity. That's your creative side, right? Data collection is taking what's already there. Your creative side is coming up with things that are new or different. And your emotional side, right? Your feelings, love. Love is going to be crucial, man. I'm just going to say this because I don't think I hit home enough on the concept of love. But all you who are interested in surviving the plasma apocalypse, watch these movies. Watch all these apocalyptic movies, and you'll see that usually the people who survive, they survive because they love somebody else. They're holding hands, they're hugging, they're kissing. Sometimes they're even having sex during the apocalypse itself, like in the TV show Good Omens. Okay? I don't know if I can say sex on the internet. No, I'm just kidding. Vanessa V said, donated. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Hey, by the way, you guys' donations go towards things like this brand new microphone right here, right? See it, right? And apparently, I'll find out later on, but apparently it works pretty good. And I get new stuff and I upgrade all my stuff, and I've got, different things that I spend it on for what you guys check out. I'm kind of interested in why this says it's copyrighted material. I hope it wasn't that song at the beginning. Anyway, dang it. All right. Man, I better download this one real quick, huh? Okay, so Vanessa, I'm so sorry. Vanessa says, Jay, if no caves, what's the second best thing? Okay, so the main thing that you got to worry about, okay, or the first thing you got to worry about is getting sucked up into the sky. Do not be outside in the open around the summer solstice or around the winter solstice, okay? Specifically Christmas Day, okay? Don't be outside during those times, because if you are, good chance that 2 men will be left in the field and 1 will be left there because people get sucked up, okay? Whatever you want to call it. That's sort of a biblical reference, but definitely don't be outside. If you can be underground, go underground. I don't believe that all of the structures are going to get sucked up. I have a pretty strong intuition that not a lot of things are going to get sucked up. Some things are going to survive. That's hard to touch on because it's all very dependent on various factors based on where you live and your location. And, for example, I live right next to Pikes Peak, which is a gigantic mountain range. That's going to block a lot of those supersonic winds. I don't know if they'll be supersonic, but at the very least, hurricane force winds that are going to blow through and just blow a lot of houses away. Okay. Houses aren't just going to get sucked up just because the world depressurizes. They're going to get sucked up because first the winds come in, blow them up into the sky, and then naturally they just float off into the sky. So be tethered to the ground. You want to find bedrock, which is why the Flintstones survived, because the Flintstones also, believe it or not, is a true story. It's cartoonified truth, okay? That's the reason why they're even there. They lived on bedrock. Their house was built upon bedrock. Jesus even talks about building your house on bedrock as opposed to sand and stuff like that. That gets more into like liquefaction, because some things, while they may get sucked up into the sky, other things, because of the worldwide earthquake that will be happening, the earth is going to be growing. So there's going to be huge worldwide earthquakes. That's going to shake the ground, which is going to cause a lot of heavy stuff to sink down if it's not on the bedrock. So those are some ideas for you. Another good idea is, possibly, I'm looking into Faraday cages, things of that nature. Those storage containers, just like in the movie Take Shelter, the guy got a storage container and put it underground and covered it with dirt. The storage container is all metal. It acts just like an airplane. When an airplane gets struck by lightning, which happens all the time, not all the passengers inside get electrocuted, right? They're fine because the lightning goes right through the airplane and tries to go into the ground. It wants to ground itself. So yeah, look into those types of things, and that'll help you out. But you definitely want to be grounded. You want to be attached to, roped off, tied to, whatever you can. That's going to be a sturdy structure that's attached to the earth itself. That's the best bet for you. All right, let me jump back into the chat. Hopefully everything's good, man. I hope this live stream makes it. Where is the chat? Here it is. Okay, let me pop out the chat here. That way I can scroll up and down and stuff. All right, we're going to hang out for, I don't know. Well, we'll hang out for as long as we want to, but as long as people keep on, asking questions or typing at JayDreamerZ, that's my cue to basically continue the live stream. All right, let's see here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open it up to everybody. Why not? We did everything. We did the whole live stream, members only. We're going to open it up now to everybody. Moderators, you guys are the helpers in this particular situation. Oh, and by the way, on that note, I did want to throw this out there. I'm not reading the comments on any of my videos any longer. I'm going to leave the comments up for all of you. Hopefully you can benefit from one another, and I plan on making it, if I haven't already, so that members are able to moderate the comments as well. But I'm not doing it, because if I do it, I'm probably going to get rid of them. I'm just going to be honest with you. Only because I'm a sensitive person and I don't like to read negativity, because I'm super empathetic and I'm trying to really amp up my good vibes. Anyhow, let's go ahead and let everybody in here. If you have a question or anything, type in at JayDreamerZ. Make sure it's spelled correctly and it'll highlight over here on my side. Hopefully I did this right. Let's find out. Okay, cool. So I turned off members only mode. Everybody's welcome to jump in. We'll probably hang out, I'll say at least 10 more minutes. We'll see what happens. Where is the chat? I know I popped it out here somewhere. Boom. Pop out chat. There it is. All right, cool. So what I'm doing over here on my side is I'm just popping out the chat and making it nice and large so that I can scroll up. I'm just looking for at JayDreamerZ. Otherwise I'm just going to assume all other conversation is just side chat between you guys. All of the members, you guys are my good vibe tribe. All right, so let's see here. Nikki Rose says, JayDreamerZ, keep up the good vibes. Hey, thanks. I will keep up the good vibes. And I'm going to encourage everybody. I want to have so many good vibes. Other people just can't help but to feel better when I'm around. You know what I mean? All right. Drewzin. Hey, Ace McLeod. What's up, man? Drewzin Burns says, at JayDreamerZ, I love you, bro. Well, thank you very much. It's good to be loved. I appreciate it. Rue. Oh, that's right. Rue, you had some questions for me. I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. Rue says, how do our memories get wiped? And is black goo... Hey, you're asking a compound question, Rue. I don't know. I'm just kidding. And how does black goo, like in Venom, a xenomorph or Phantazoid? Okay, so in short, because there's a lot of questions pouring in, our memories get wiped because your brain gets rebooted if those small little plasma fingers, dream crabs, face huggers, whatever you want to call them, if they dock with you, okay, which is why you're not supposed to look into the deadlights, if you know what that means, right? Don't stare at it. It's going to be beautiful, but it's a dangerous beautiful, so don't look at it. But if it attaches to you, most likely going through your eyes, it's going to reboot your brain, okay? And not only that, but there's going to be a severe lack of oxygen for a short amount of time, just like in Total Recall. That also is going to mess up people's memories. It's going to cause amnesia in a lot of people. So some people will tattoo themselves in order to leave reminders. Some people will leave pictures in their pockets, etc. Don't count on getting all your pictures from like Google Pictures or whatever. So that's how your memories get wiped. Don't stare into the plasma, okay? Which is also that movie, I forgot what it's called, but they wear the blindfold, during the whole movie. And the black goo, that's basically the xenomorphs and all that stuff. That's the T-virus. If you get infected, if one of these Phantazoids that's infected with its own space disease or whatever, I don't know what it is exactly, but it has the T-virus. The T comes from the shape that is the plasma shooting up from the center of the earth, hitting the ceiling of our world, arcing out and creating a T until it breaks through, at which point it'll make a cross, okay? But that's why it's called the T virus. That is the Phantazoid virus, and those viruses can go inside of you and they live inside of you until they start to incubate and they break open and, you're a part of it. You're basically a host, okay? I don't know if there are different versions of that, but there's also the plasma possession, which is not a virus, okay? Your plasma, your energy will be amplified by the residual plasma that's left over in our world. If you're a bad person, you're going to turn into a killer. You're going to turn into a really bad, messed up, psychopath, crazy person, okay? If you're a good person, that will also be amplified, and you will basically be a superhero. Unlearn the System says, JayDreamerZ, have you come across the Amentia Muscaria mushroom connection with Santa Claus? Yes, I have. I've seen a few videos on that. And I like it. I like where that's going because I think that mycelium, the mycelium network from Star Trek, all the mushroom references. If you look at the older videos I did about mud fossils, I found hundreds upon hundreds of petrified giant mushrooms all around our world. They're everywhere. And I think that they'll probably come back. So maybe that mycelium will also drop down from the sky. Hey, maybe that's the manna, the manna in the Bible that comes down from the sky. Who knows? Let's see. Don Wick says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think about the FEMA camps? Oh, I think they're great. I'll rate them 4.5 stars out of 5. For a FEMA camp, they're doing a good job. I'm totally playing. FEMA camps. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking. What do I think about them? I know they exist. My brother went to one. He drove right past one. Told me about it and everything. And I've seen the coffins. I've seen how they lined up all these coffins and stuff. Basically, they're getting ready for the plasma apocalypse. Okay, this is off the top of my head, but they're getting ready for the plasma apocalypse. They're not getting ready for one of these days they're going to institute, all this stuff and they're just going to collect everybody. No, man, that's for the post-apocalyptic world. They're going to scoop up various people and imprison them basically in order to be slaves for them in the new world. Let's see. David V says, hey Jay, another great video, brother. Have you seen the news about tardigrades being stranded on the moon after a spacecraft crash landed there? What are my thoughts? My thoughts are the same as they've always been. The tardigrades are a perfect example of the Phantazoids on the microcosmic scale. I think that there are real giant tardigrades possibly out there that are going to fall into our world, and maybe those will become the next behemoths or, I wouldn't say Leviathan because I think it's more of a behemoth, but basically they're Phantazoids. I don't know about people crash landing on the moon and stuff because I'm not so sure that we can actually get to the moon because the moon is the dome or the ceiling of our sister world. And on the inside of that, there's a whole different world. Yes, it's hollow because so are we. Our world is hollow as well. We live inside of it. Don Wick says, JayDreamerZ, what are your thoughts about I already read that one. Oh. What is that? Somebody said, is Denmark screwed? Let us and numb us. Is Denmark screwed? I don't know. I can't tell you who's screwed and who's not. What I can tell you is research the ancient history. Look at the structure of your world. Of your local area. See where it is. I can tell you that particular area is of various interest to me because of the geography and the landscape, right? It seems to me like the places that have the most jagged mountains and strange geographic anomalies are probably the places where the plasma touched down, or like the big plasma trunks, okay? The plasma that comes into our world is going to come in various forms, okay? It's not just going to be lightning coming down or anything. There's going to be lots of different forms of plasma. Some of it will look like little fairies floating around or wisps, right? Willow wisps or whatever they call that on Brave. Some of it will look much bigger. Much of it will try to take on different forms, different shapes if it doesn't find a body. Some of it will look like tentacles and fingers coming down out of the sky or stripes or whatever, right? But the areas that have the most jagged mountains and stuff like that, I think those are probably the areas where the largest plasmic trunks touch down, or got really close to the ground, and the ground would be wet and muddy at the time due to liquefaction. And so what it does is it rises up and it's attracted to it and it meets it up in the air, and then it basically makes a mountain, right? So look for those things. I couldn't say that you're screwed. Obviously, there were survivors from that region because you've got your ancient lore and your legends, right? So look into the ancient lore and legends of your local areas. Mother Dragon says, JayDreamerZ, our memories are always intact in our minds. Our brains limit what we can access unless we learn how to override its original programming and tap into our mind directly instead. I would tend to agree with that, but I would also add that I believe we have what's known as spirit memory, right? That's the things that our spirit keeps inside of it, but it's not in the form of like analytical information, more in the form of like a feeling that you get. You know what I mean? Kind of like when you experience deja vu, right? It's more of like a feeling. It's like this weird feeling that you have. Tor Mentor says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think about living around the North Pole at the time of the plasma apocalypse? That's a great question, Tor Mentor. That's actually something I'm researching right now because the North Pole comes up constantly in my research. But once I stumbled upon the plasma apocalypse, I had to put the brakes on the North Pole real quick because I wanted to make sure I knew more about it. But here's the possibility. It's possible that the North Pole is the only safe place, guaranteed, so to speak, guaranteed safe place, because it basically is the eye of the storm, right? Not only that, but if that is the entrance into the hollow section of our underworld or the hollow earth, right? Just like has been documented by the Navy, I think the Navy Admiral Byrd, right? His exploits going to beyond the North Pole. That could be a safe area because essentially you'll be going inside of the earth. And I just want to give you a heads up in case you plan on going to the North Pole, which probably most people won't, but I am. I'm looking into it. I'm strongly thinking about it. I'll say that. I'm probably going to. There may be a leap of faith involved because I believe gravity is going to work a lot different. I can actually, let me draw it for you real quick. Camera 2, boom. All right, so let me draw this little mock-up of our world again real quick. All right, now I'm going to draw it from the side view, okay? So here's the side view. Let's just say that, boom, it comes across like that. Boom, comes across like that. This is the North Pole, basically, right? And gravity, or whatever you want to call it, is pulling in this direction or pushing downwards from above, right? But once you get over here, pushes in that direction. So it's going to require a quote-unquote leap of faith to get upright again, okay? You jump off this and you land right there. However, to those people who don't know that, it's going to look like you're just jumping to your death. So I'm going to let that speak for itself right there. All right, back into the chat. Linda Curtis says, the apocalypse is our death. It's coming to us all. Well, that's your opinion. I don't think it is. I don't believe in death, first and foremost. And secondly, I don't think everybody's going to die because it's been recorded, right? Like Captain Jack Sparrow says, like, if there were no survivors, where do the stories come from? There have to be survivors. There will be survivors. Let's see here. Mr. Dynamic says, JayDreamerZ, I've read 33 latitude plus or minus 5 degrees is a safe zone. What do you think? I think it's a safer area, but there are no safe zones. There is no guaranteed safe place, okay, at all. Even if you jump into the North Pole and you go into the hollow earth, there's stuff going to be going on down there as well during this experience, okay? So I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not telling you guys there are any safe zones whatsoever. I'm saying there are safer practices. There is a safer state of being, a safer state of mind, a safer energy, safer preparations that you can do. But ultimately, I don't know. Maybe it's fate. Let's see here. Project Frequency says, JayDreamerZ, I saw your vid on the AI concept, Are You a Robot? And how we are programmed, which is why I asked about the data collection. Seems like silicon beings created us. Thank you for your content. You're very welcome. When he says silica beings, those are the Phantazoids from space, okay? And I call them, sometimes I refer to them as silica beings. Before I came up with the word Phantazoid, I basically called them all silica beings. Maybe they are silica based, and that's why they look that way. I'm not sure, but they're all basically from out there, from beyond, right? They're the shining ones. They're the shimmering ones. They are, whether they be bipedal or look more like animals or creatures, they are the shining and shimmering class, okay? They always typically share that in common. That's why on Moana, that crab has that whole song, right? I'm so shiny, and the crab's all dancing around. It's the crab, which is also symbolic of the fingers or the long legs or the tentacles, etc. It's also symbolic of the Phantazoid bug class. Okay, there's a bug class of Phantazoids. I call it the bug class, or the bug type, I should say. There's 3 classes. There's friendly, neutral, and aggressive, or the eaters, basically, the hunters, the predators, if you would say. And then there are different types, and one of those types is the bug type. They basically look like giant bugs, okay? Crabs, lobsters, all that stuff, I believe, are ancient remnants from the giant Phantazoids that gave birth, and their offspring got smaller and smaller in order to fit the world that they now lived in. All right, Sigfrid Gudin Novak, where did that go? Sorry, I missed it. Apparently I'm behind in the chat. JayDreamerZ, why would I not want to be sucked up to the outside of the dome? Is there danger for humans? I don't know. You can, whatever you want to do is what you can do. If you want to jump up there, go for it. Like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying any of this is good or bad, okay? You live whatever kind of life you want to live, okay? You walk your own path. Whatever you desire, do what you desire. If you want to jump up into the sky and take a chance and see what happens, go for it, okay? If you want to stay here, great. If your question is like, how do I survive if I go up? Remember, there's a big, huge electric arc out there that's plasma, okay? So if you think you can handle plasma with just your body and no protection or anything, I don't know. If you want to survive, I at least would recommend you get like a big rubberized suit or something, right? I don't know. But he also says, is there danger for humans? Yeah, absolutely. There's danger if you get sucked up into the unknown. There's definitely danger. So you want to have some sort of a protective device, right? Doctor Who has his Faraday cage that's a phone booth, basically, which is why phones are usually depicted as the things that can transport you from one realm to another. Good question. Mayor Rothschild says, JayDreamerZ, satanic-based esoteric symbolism is typically expressed in a mirror of the actual message. Hold on. Satanic-based esoteric symbolism. The word satanic threw me off. I'm just going to tell you right now. I'm not a big God versus Satan kind of person anymore. So let me try to reinterpret your question here. Satanic-based esoteric symbolism is typically expressed in a mirror of the actual message. Okay, so basically what you're saying is the truth is inverted, right? The truth is upside down and the reverse of what we're told. I would agree with that. I don't know if it's satanic or not, but yes. Junkyard equals post-scarcity. Yes, the junkyard equals the post-apocalypse, basically. After the plasma apocalypse, when all that stuff falls back down into our world. Now, here's another thing. When it falls back down, it might not fall back down with the same speed that things fall to the earth now, because the electromagnetics will be weaker. So things might actually fall slower down to the earth. And, you know, if you get sucked up, there's a chance you might be able to just fall right back down and be okay. I'm not promising anything, but, you know, there is a chance. All right, let's see. Welcome, Angel Flores. Good to see you. Shutting 1978 says JayDreamerZ. Now remember, when you type in JayDreamerZ, you got to type in J-A-Y. Otherwise, it will not highlight on my side, but I happen to see it. JayDreamerZ, do you know if the dome will collapse and fall like big chunks of ice? I promise there will be big chunks of ice falling from the sky. I don't know if it's the dome, but I do know that the world's water will get sucked up into the sky, okay? The oceans, all that. The oceans are going away, okay? But the water that doesn't make it out will freeze, which will turn into gigantic hail and will come back down. Okay, so watch out for that. Alarani Noskinta says, JayDreamerZ, what do you suspect the event to be around the solstice? Why do you suspect the event to be around the solstice? Also, amazing content. Thank you for sharing. You're very welcome. The reason I believe it's around the solstice is, one, we have these traditions for a reason, for a purpose, originally set up to protect the offspring to protect your family members going into the future in case they happen to forget all about this really important information. We have certain traditions in place that will ensure that people are indoors, or people have candles and they have light, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. I talk about it a lot on the Plasma Apocalypse section of my website, so feel free to check that out. But there are a lot of reasons why the winter solstice in particular stands out. Some of it has to do with my own research. You know, I've always been studying the end times and things of that nature. Some of it's biblical. Some of it comes from various religious writings and ancient writings of old. Some of it comes from the traditions. Some of it comes from my gut. Some of it comes from TV and movies and fantasy, etc. There are a lot of things that led me in that direction. Good question. Rue, you're funny. Let's see here. Anybody else? Oh, I think there was one. Let's see. Hold on. I'm just catching up here. Clarence Wilkerson. If I skip you guys, I'm sorry. The chat's bugging out on my side. JayDreamerZ, just keep putting out good vibes and positive vibes and you'll be fine in my view. Thanks, Clarence. I appreciate you. Mr. Dynamic says, according to my research, I believe the true North Pole is in Alaska somewhere. What do you think? Well, I think that our North Pole is actually the South Pole, right? It's the reverse. The North Pole is actually the South, and the boundaries around the outside are the northern polarity, basically. But as far as the true North Pole, my guess is, honestly, if you want to find the real North Pole, follow the instructions given to Indiana Jones when he's in the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I believe that's a step-by-step instruction on how to get to the Holy Grail or the North Pole. Also in the movie BFG, it shows you exactly where BFG lives. That's where he lives. He lives at that magical place at the North Pole. And they take out a map and he shows you exactly where it is. He shows you the steps and everything. Let's see. Vanessa V says, JayDreamerZ, this is my son's question. Well, hello, Vanessa V's son. I live in Florida, and I saw them launch rockets a couple of times a month. Are they trying to break the dome or the sky? I don't know what they're trying to do. I can't speak for them. I've never met them. I don't know what they're doing. But that stands to reason, right? You got big old rockets. What do rockets do? Shooting up at the sky. You know they can't get past the quote-unquote Van Allen belts, which is just the Birkeland current for the plasma around our world, which is an established academic fact these days. So it seems like they're probably trying to instigate, right? Because they worship that. They want that to happen, right? I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But I am saying this is every major religion in the world. This is Satanism. This is Christianity. This is Islam. This is Judaism. This is every ancient belief system. All of them are the same, painted with different colors. Okay? All of them look forward to this event, whether consciously and they understand how it works and stuff, or subconsciously and they just have metaphors and similes running around in their brain. Good question. Let's see here. Clarence Wilkerson also says, like you mentioned, just be prepared and have no fear. It is not real. Enjoy the experience. I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. Have fun, man. Have a good time. If you're going to go out, why not go out smiling or laughing hysterically, which is what I would rather do, right? I can tell you my plans. I plan on hugging and holding my family very tightly, maybe even singing a song, closing our eyes. And this is something I used to do when I used to practice holding my breath underwater for a long time. You just distract yourself. That's all. You're in charge of what's going on in here, right? So when I was in like an Olympic-sized swimming pool, I wanted to get there and back as many times as I could. So when I was running out of breath underwater, you know, just like in the movie The Matrix, Morpheus leans in, he says, "You think that's air you're breathing?" Right? All you have to do is distract your mind. That's all. And there's magic in that. So that's a good idea. Anyway, let's see. Anything else? All out of bubblegum. I like it. That's a cool name. JayDreamerZ. The movie Melancholia shows the plasma event. Okay, cool. I've never heard of that one, but I'm sure I'll come across it. If you want, you could leave it in the comments. That way everybody else can check it out. Like I said, I'm not reading the comments anymore. Pretty much the only way to get in touch with me is to be a member. right? Pretty soon, I'm just going to be transparent with you guys. I'm not going to open the chat up to everybody a lot, okay? Occasionally, maybe when I'm in a good mood, I might, but for the most part, this is going to be members only for the chat. And my website, you know, people have, there's the fan mail on my website. People can reach out to me. There's the chat and everything. But, you know, there's a limited amount of time in my day. I got a lot of different things I have to do, a lot of things I'm constantly working on, and it takes a lot of time to do what I do. So, it was good while it lasted for many of you. So for some of you, I'm saying goodbye. For some of you, I'm saying aloha. I love you. God bless you. However you want to say it, good vibes. And, you know, we may have to part ways as far as our communication goes. But it's just a new path, right? It's a new direction in life, and I'm happy about it. Project, let's see here. Clarence says, JayDreamerZ, the plasma event will mark a new beginning, like a clean slate for us all. We shouldn't fear, but embrace the world as it should be from long ago. Why fear? We've been through this before. Those are good thoughts, excellent sentiments, and I love where you're going with that. Project Frequency says, in regard to zombies, do you think tombstones, usually made of limestone, such as obelisks, are made intentionally to attract the plasma? Wow, I hadn't even thought of that before. Originally, I thought about tombstones as basically, originally that's where people were petrified, standing in place, turning into rock, right? And then that's how we marked our dead. But I like your idea, where people are basically using them as obelisks in order to draw in the plasma so that they can reanimate their loved ones. Wow, hey, let's give some positive emojis to Project Frequency, man. I like how you think. I'm going to blow up the chat with some Project Frequency positive emojis, because that was a thinking outside of the box kind of a thought. And those are the type that I really like. Project Frequency. Boom. Good vibes for you, my friend. Excellent connection. I like it. All right. Cloven E says, JayDreamerZ, is the Rupus Nigra Silica Rock the Tower/Dark Tower card depicting the plasma apocalypse of the tarot? I think you're talking about the stone that's alleged to be at the North Pole, right? Possibly. I think that's what that is. Is that the tower? I don't think so. I'll show you what I believe the tower to be. All right. Real quick. Camera 2. Okay, so the tower. Now keep in mind there are 2 towers. Okay, but I'll show you one of them real quick. Here's our world from a side view. Boom. There's our world from the side view. Now, not only is there plasma around our world right now, right? Coming down around our world. It's basically spiraling, okay? I'm not an artist or anything, so I don't really draw it that well. But there's plasma up there. There's also plasma down here. Okay? And when the light reverses, when the electromagnetics reverse, this plasma down here is going to shoot upward from the middle, which is why there's probably no land right there. And it's going to hit up here. Remember I said the T virus, the plasma goes up, it hits the dome or whatnot, sort of makes this sort of T until finally it breaks through and it goes up all the way through. Right? This is all plasma right there. That is Jack's beanstalk. That is your tree of life. That is Jacob's ladder. That is Godzilla's atomic breath. Okay? That's what shoots up in order to fight the plasma Cthulhu tentacles or whatever. So I hope that helped you out. Black Butterfly 911 says, JayDreamerZ, you only going to speak to us? Is that what you mean? Yes. So members, basically. Okay. That has a lot to do with my vibes, my vibrations. I'm trying not to let any of that negativity into my life right now. There's a lot of interesting people out there. And I basically have to just keep away from all the negative stuff, which includes a lot of comments. So I can't, even if you have a great comment, I'm not going to read it because there's a chance I'll also read some really bad stuff. And right now, I'm not really at a place where I can handle all that negativity, because then it takes me to places like, should I shut down my channel? Should I stop doing this? Like, why do I help anyone, etc.? You know what I mean? I don't want those thoughts. I'm fighting all that stuff right now. I'm keeping it away. I'm focusing on my website, and I'm focusing on just keep going with what I do and what I enjoy doing. So that's what I'm talking about. I think that's good. I think we should wrap things up. We've had a good little chat. Hopefully there's no issues with the old copyright stuff here. But I'm going to roll the new credits. So if you're a new member, you'll definitely see yourself in the credits. I want to say thank you to all of the members out there, the Good Vibe Tribe. You guys have been amazing. I appreciate you. I am going to go ahead and turn members only back on out of respect for all of the members whose names are going to, basically be in the credits right now. This might be the last time that we do open chat. Not because anybody messed up or anything, but just I wanted to say goodbye, basically, to some of you guys. I wanted to say goodbye. I love you. I see you. Bless you. Good vibes to you. I appreciate all you guys. Just give me one quick second and I'll go ahead and roll those credits. Actually, I'm just going to roll the credits right now. Good vibes and goodbye. Take care, everybody.